China has claimed that a U.S. naval ship has illegally intruded its South China Sea territorial waters. A Chinese naval force was mobilized to track the USS Gabrielle Giffords on Monday when it ventured near the waters of the Second Thomas Shoal, Beijing said. The reef is part of the Spratly Islands, an area that is the center of a territorial dispute between China and the Philippines. The U.S. deliberately disrupted the situation in the South China Sea. The People's Liberation Army Southern Theater asserted in a statement. The release also accused the United States of seriously violating China's sovereignty and security, undermining regional peace and stability, and of violating international law and basic norms governing international relations. Second Thomas Shoal, known as Ayungin Shoal in the Philippines, lies about 195 kilometers, 121 miles northwest of the Philippine province of Palawan. It has been the site of several incidents this year, as Manila has sought to resupply a rusting warship that it intentionally ran aground in 1999 to serve as a military outpost. The U.S. military has responded to China's accusations, saying that the USS Gabrielle Giffords was conducting routine operations in international waters consistent with international law. Beijing lays claim to most of the South China Sea, despite an international tribunal decision contrary to these claims. Manila accuses Beijing of aggressive efforts to assert its territorial ambitions. Dwarfed by China's military might, the country has sought support from U.S. forces, the major military power patrolling the important shipping lanes and fishing grounds in the South China Sea. With a strong interest in maintaining a dominant presence in these waters, the U.S. has worked with the Philippines in exchange for an expansion of the U.S. military presence in the country. Earlier this year, the two countries launched the largest ever military drills, which took place near the Second Thomas Shoal, and last month the two militaries began sea and air patrols in the area. China insists the U.S. is meddling in waters far from its shores and renewed its accusation that America is the one raising regional tensions. The actions of the U.S. ship demonstrated that the U.S. is the biggest threat to peace and stability in the South China Sea, the statement from the Chinese military's Southern Theater said. The U.S. Navy's 7th Fleet, based in Japan, said its operations in the South China Sea demonstrate a commitment to upholding a free and open Indo-Pacific region where all nations, large and small, are secure in their sovereignty, can resolve disputes without coercion, and have the freedom to navigate and fly consistent with international laws, rules, and norms. The Philippines, Brunei, Malaysia, Taiwan, and Vietnam have all staked claims to various islands and reefs in the sea, which is believed to have rich petroleum reserves deep beneath its bed. U.S. President Joe Biden has warned China that the U.S. will defend the Philippines in case of any attack in the disputed South China Sea. The comments come days after two collisions between Filipino and Chinese vessels in the contested waters. Mr. Biden reiterated his ironclad defense commitment to the Philippines. Manila has contested Chinese claims to the waters, cutting floating barriers and inviting media to film what it calls Beijing's dangerous moves at sea. Mr. Biden's statement on the South China Sea on Wednesday was his strongest since tensions between Beijing and Manila heated up in recent months. I want to be clear. I want to be very clear. The United States defense commitment to the Philippines is ironclad. The United States defense agreement with the Philippines is ironclad, he said. Signed in 1951, the Mutual Defense Treaty binds the U.S. and the Philippines, its former colony, into defending each other in the event of an armed attack. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning said the U.S. had no right to get involved in a problem between China and the Philippines. Should the U.S. defend the Philippines, its actions must not hurt China's sovereignty and maritime interests in the South China Sea, she told reporters in response to a question on the statement. On Sunday, the Philippines said China's dangerous maneuvers had led to a collision between a China Coast Guard ship and a Filipino supply boat in an area that falls inside the Philippines' Exclusive Economic Zone, EEZ. In a separate incident, Manila said a Chinese militia boat bumped a Philippine Coast Guard vessel. The Philippines Defense Minister Gilberto Teodoro Jr. said the Chinese boats intentionally hit the Philippine vessels and accused China of distorting the story to fit its own ends.